Hi, my name is Ken Davidian, and welcome to Organization Theory in Space. This series of videos will explore the topics and discussions of organization theory, or OT, within the context of civil and commercial space sectors. This initial season will highlight the 7 major parts of the Oxford Handbook of Organizational Change and Innovation. The second season will discuss each of the 36 individual chapters. Each video of the first 2 seasons will be about 5 minutes long, give or take a minute. Today's video includes an overview of the entire series and an introduction to the overall topic. I have plans for a 3rd and 4th season, but it's a bit premature to talk about them just yet. Handbooks are great references to get up to speed on all the academic discussions within a given domain. As the OT in Space video series progresses, I encourage everybody to put ideas, thoughts, and discussion topics into the comments section below. Those will all provide me guidance on how to better respond to your needs in the future. I'm using up precious time here, so let's get started. Today I'm going to cover the first chapter in the handbook entitled Introduction, Central Issues in the Study of Organizational Change and Innovation, edited by Marshall Scott Poole and Andy Van de Ven. It's important to start any conversation with fundamental definitions, so that's what we'll do. Van de Ven says that organizational change is defined as any observable difference over time of an organization's characteristics or abilities. And when those are novel and unprecedented, it's called an innovation. In this handbook, organizational change is studied using process research methods and takes into consideration the concepts of levels of analysis, agency, and time. It's important to note that variance research methods investigate what change is occurring, and process research methods investigate how the change is occurring. We will also discuss many different perspectives on innovation, including whether it's a noun or a verb, episodic or continuous, planned or unplanned, and many others. Much of our time will be spent discussing the 4 idealized motors of change: the teleologic, the life cycle, the dialectic, and the evolutionary. So let's take a minute to talk about those. The teleologic motor is driven by a central agent that sets the long-term goals and then coordinates other actors to work together to achieve those goals. This is a very good way to efficiently use resources and produce a high-performing product. The dialectic motor is based on 2 ideas: the predominant idea called the thesis and a competing idea called the antithesis. After the competition, what results is something different than the original thesis or antithesis and is called the synthesis. The synthesis becomes the new thesis and the cycle begins again. The life cycle motor posits that an organization is born, begins growing, matures, then dies. This model is actually very good for highly regulated markets, like the introduction of a new drug. Finally, the evolution motor is based on the competitive combination of 3 forces: variation, selection, and retention. The variation force is related to the number of innovation sources, like companies. The selection force is related to the number and amount of independent funding sources, both public and private. The retention force is related to the number of customers and the amount of money they represent. In other words, the total market size. After talking about the 4 motors of change, we'll cover various topics regarding power and influence, the prevalence of conflict, dialectics, and paradox, change, effect, and emotions, hybrid modeling approaches, and variance versus process research methods in studying change and innovation. So how does this all relate to the space sector? I've heard many times government and industry leaders asking questions like, what will such a market share or growth rate end up being? Or how many companies will survive in a given market segment? Or how many spaceports, for example, does a country need? Organization theory helps us answer those questions by more accurately modeling the markets as social systems and by better understanding the phenomenology behind the answers. Without better understanding the mechanics behind the numbers we're measuring, we can't even be sure we're measuring the right numbers. OT research is methodical and steady and will not only help us answer the questions we have today, but also those that we come up with tomorrow. That's it for this episode in OT in Space. And next time we'll give an overview of the handbook part 1, which discusses the teleologic motor of change. I hope you find the material interesting, and if you do, I encourage you to hit the subscribe button or the notification bell so you don't miss any of the future videos. OT in Space was produced by Impossible Research, LLC. Impossible Research, LLC, or IRL, conducts process research on the topics of innovation and industry emergence within the context of commercial space industries. IRL also offers organization theory and research consulting, as well as STEAM outreach. This video is intended for educational purposes only.